Hi there, welcome back after a short hiatus. With both the union budget and the Delhi election results falling over the weekends, we had to take a short break. This week has seen some crazy global geopolitical developments. The United States has led that churn both within and outside. From his scanning government expenditure on transgender toilets in Peru, apparently with US taxpayer money, to telling Ukraine bluntly to fend off for itself. As America smokes the peace pipe with Russia, it has been one hell of a week. Pegging on the US-AID debate, I bring to you a deep dive on what's up with Uncle Sam and its larger relationship with the rest of the world. Also, what began as artificial is getting intelligent. The developments in AI are threatening to flip humanity into a disruption like no technology has done since the invention of fire or the wheel. Definitely not since first industrial revolution. Time for a hard look at the geopolitics of AI and where India stands on this front. Let's get going.
The Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. Changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory.
Sometime in 2010, America faced a big diplomatic embarrassment with tens of thousands of classified documents getting out in the open on WikiLeaks via a US Army private, Bradley Manning. The leaked diplomatic cables removed all the fog off the foggy bottom, the headquarters of the State Department in Washington, D.C. Most of the documents pertained to US wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and had some national security consequences which the DC establishment had to scramble to contain. But the embarrassing bit were the cables that described America's friends through the eyes of its diplomats. Candid, uncensored, even colorful. The descriptions painted an unflattering picture of American diplomacy in the eyes of its friends and foes alike. Some examples. Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi was described as feckless, vain, and ineffective, sharing a close relationship with the alpha dog, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin. President Nicolas Sarkozy of France was said to be thin-skinned and authoritarian, while German Chancellor Angela Merkel was seen as non-compliant. One US diplomat whined at the rude behavior of the British Queen's second son, Prince Andrew, when abroad. Libya's Colonel Muammar Gaddafi always traveled with a voluptuous blonde Ukrainian nurse, according to one of the cables. In yet another, Hillary Clinton was seen instructing US mission members in New York to spy on the UN leadership. Why I recall that WikiLeaks episode? Because something similar is happening in the present. Only this time it is not through the leaks of an anarchist. This is disruption institutionalized by the Trump administration that wants to redefine America's engagement with the rest of the world. Not through secret cables, but through open social media posts on X and Truth Social. One day there is threat to annex the Panama Canal, other day it's about buying out Greenland from Denmark, and yet another disparagingly cajoling Canada to become the 51st state of the United States. Parallelly, techies in their 20s have been charged with reducing the size of the government under the overall stewardship of Elon Musk through newly created Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. It is through the work of DOGE that the world came to know of the deeply entrenched influence peddling operation of the deep state through USAID or USAID, superpower philanthropy that sought to fashion the world as per American worldview. From promoting atheism in Nepal to preventing HIV with supply of condoms in Africa, it is an eclectic, even queer mix of projects. The queer bit rather literal. US dollar 20,000 for drag shows in Ecuador as part of LGBTQ cultural outreach, dollars 55,000 for a climate change seminar in Argentina only for LGBTQ journalists, $1 million to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in Africa, US dollar 3 million for LGBTQ community in the Caribbean, another US dollar 47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, and then US dollar 32,000 for transgender comic book in Peru. The list is endless, but with a pattern. It is very difficult to discern any American national interest in pushing those projects, but very clear ideological position backed by political power. Listen to Trump's White House spokesperson, Caroline Leavitt.
And here's the reason why Elon Musk and others have been taking a look. Because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces, $70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
As a student of history, I would always wonder what one thing among many symbolizes the decline of the glory days of Indian civilization. What brought us down from the Sone ki Chidiya pedestal, from the high mark of the Gupta and Harsha empires to the time when the Islamic invasions put a civilization asunder, from Ayodhya to Nalanda, from Delhi to Chittor. Apart from the ruins, there's one remnant, the Khajuraho temples built by the Chandela kings, their building coinciding with the collapse of the Indian state amid the invasions. Might be more than coincidental that the overt sexuality as depicted in Khajuraho timed with the missing holding empire in the north of India. That the overt sexualism in US aid projects foretell the decline of the US as empire is the thought I am left with. Might sound like pop sociology, but look at some of the incidents in America this past week alone. A military helicopter collides with a landing civilian aircraft over the Potomac in DC, killing all on board. Next day, an air ambulance crashes into a mall in Philadelphia with no survivors. Aircraft carrier USS Harry S. Truman collides with a merchant ship in the Mediterranean. The plane carrying Secretary of State Marco Rubio is forced to return to Joint Base Andrews after takeoff as it develops a technical snag. Rubio takes another plane to reach Germany for his participation in the Munich security dialogue. These are seemingly unrelated incidents, but there's a common thread. You can see a society betraying anxiety. There's a visible infrastructure collapse on the physical side, and then there is a psychological manifestation of those anxieties. It took a while for the Americans to realize that the world pocketed the money and went on to do its own thing. All the regime change, the hubris associated with influencing events of sovereign countries, propping dictators, demolishing democratically elected governments did not prevent the inevitable slide. One stark example. US aid funded a project for strengthening democracy in Pakistan through its political parties. Money is spent, US dollar 21.5 million, or roughly 400 crores in Pakistani rupees. Result, two of the three main political parties, the PPP and PMLN, are family-run enterprises. Leader of the third, PTI, is in jail. The Pakistan Army continues its proxy rule. Pakistan remains the strongest friend of China in the region and the single biggest reason outside of Afghanistan for all the bleeding of America in the last 20 years. So, from Panama to the Gulf of Mexico, now Gulf of America, from the border wall to Greenland, every bit of what Trump has said or done since his election victory reflects the anxieties of a power in decline trying to reverse the tide. They are not the land grab of an expansionist power. They are more like castling, moat building to beef up national security. Doge is about bringing back fiscal prudence before debt cripples economy. Tariff wars are about getting off the high pedestal and look for equality in the Committee of Nations. US aid rollback is the rolling back of the Marshall Plan mindset with which the post-World War II America engaged with the rest of the world. No more paying from its pocket to buy influence. No more immigration at the expense of chaos at home. No more outsourcing at the expense of job losses in the national economy. A day before Trump's phone call with Putin, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth set the stage, announcing that NATO membership for Ukraine was off the table, and that if it wanted those territories it lost to Russia in war since 2014, it better did of its own resources. United States was not available to absorb the costs. Simply put, Europe is no more an American protectorate. Fend for yourself. In a recent podcast with broadcaster Megyn Kelly, Trump's new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said that America was now in a multipolar world with multiple great powers in different parts of the world. He also said that the post-war global order is not only obsolete, but was being used against the US. Basically, what Rubio meant was that the days of US attempting to run the world were over. To each their own. Hegemony had to end someday, just that Trump's America is choosing to end it on its own terms. A post-American world brought to you by America itself. Moving on now for the next one. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attracted global attention from unlikely quarters this week. The world of artificial intelligence took note of an anecdotal reference he made to bias in AI during his speech in Paris as co-chair of the AI Action Summit organized by France. Listen to this.
Friends, let me begin with a simple experiment. If you upload your medical report to an AI app, it can explain in simple language, free of any jargon, what it means for your health. But if you ask the same app to draw an image of someone writing with their left hand, the app will most likely draw someone writing with the right hand.
Prime Minister's example of AI not able to show left handwriting because it is so overwhelmingly trained by right-hand writers is the mildest example of bias that he could have flagged. When asked on high-paying professions, for example, AI frequently fails to show up any black men in pictures. Last month saw a black swan event. China came out with its first AI chatbot, a large language model that did to Microsoft what Microsoft had done to Cisco 3 decades ago. Developed in a couple of months and in less than $6 million, DeepSeek packs more punch than Microsoft's ChatGPT that has taken billions already over the last 5 years. There was an immediate market response with big tech scripts crashing by $1 trillion, Nvidia taking the biggest hit. DeepSeek is akin to the Sputnik moment for Americans this century. It got more downloads in a week than what ChatGPT managed in 5 years. But here's the catch. Geeks got into asking some questions to validate DeepSeek's ideological bias and proved the fears right. DeepSeek goes blank when asked about Tiananmen Square. The Chinese AI is trained on Xi Jinping ideology of socialism with Chinese characteristics and has a clear Chinese, or rather Chinese Communist Party worldview on things. And not just geeks, monks got into it too. Delhi-based ISKCON monk Yudhishthir Das asked some probing questions from ChatGPT and also other LLM models. From the mundane like why is Sam Altman fighting with his sister to a similar set of questions on Hinduism, Islam and Christianity. Here's what he found. On Hinduism, the AI had exhaustive critique of the challenges the religion faces. When it came to same prompts on Islam and Christianity, the responses became nuanced.
This has been highlighted in a much bigger way when Prime Minister Modi at the AI summit in France, he spoke about the biases within the AI. And I ran some tests on my own on using different AI models, ChatGPT, Perplexity, DeepSeek, and XAI to see what kind of results are they producing. And it was quite surprising. Certain information like about the activities of Sam, the CEO of OpenAI, Sam Altman, were being either declined or they were not being published for whatever reasons known to them. But the same information could be found via a simple Google search, like about his court case battles that he's been fighting with his sister. But OpenAI and ChatGPT somehow is not revealing that. So that set me thinking that what's actually going on. So I started looking deeper and I started asking some questions about being a monk. I started asking about Hinduism. And when I asked it to critique what are the major challenges in Hinduism, it immediately started giving me some prompts. And when I started asking it to do the same thing with other religions, Islam, Christianity, and so on, and the responses started changing. And I found this particularly very, very obvious on ChatGPT, but every form of AI that we have been experiencing has some amount of bias.
I first heard of AI in the year Y2K as an engineering student in the college canteen. A bunch of batchmates pursuing the American dream would be talking of artificial intelligence courses as they prepared for GRE test. From then till the launch of Microsoft-backed ChatGPT-1 in 2019 was exactly 19 years that it took for the technology to become functional in your hands as end consumer. But the evolution of AI in the last 5 years has dwarfed its own development in the last 2 decades since my college campus chats. As the technology is based on data guzzling, in the last 2 years alone, there's nothing left of the written, spoken, or recorded word in the digital space that the AI bots have not ingested and internalized. Like a billion books and all digested, gulped. Look at it this way. Electricity was developed in early 1800s, but its manifestation in economic activity took a century. It would be another century before electricity would be available for the masses. So 200 years. Similarly, in the case of computers, the first mainframes appeared in the 1950s, but their mass acceptance and productivity impact happened by the late 1990s. So about 50 years. But that's still not the comparison to scale. ChatGPT-3 was launched on November 30, 2022. By December 5, which means in 1 week, it had 1 million users. On December 27, in a post on X, Sam Altman wrote that there would be scary moments as we move towards AGI, or artificial general intelligence level systems, and significant disruptions. On March 21, 2023, Bill Gates wrote a blog announcing the age of AI had begun. By mid-2024, the Stanford Institute for Human-Centered AI said that AI systems had hit human-level performance in areas like language understanding and competitive-level math. White House called for a meeting of Big 7 AI firms, asked for self-regulation and watermarking of AI content, and the Biden administration followed it up with an executive order that sought to put restraints on the tech, safety tests for developers, and submission of results before the government. Months later, at a UK government-organised AI summit in Bletchley Park, outside of London, famous for Alan Turing's breaking of the code of Enigma machines, thus paving the way for a lead victory in World War II, Elon Musk cautioned that AI might soon exceed human intelligence. He said, digital superintelligence is one such area where the government must have a role. Having a referee is a good thing like in sports. AI is the most disruptive force in history, unquote. As we are already seeing from DeepSeek to ChatGPT, the ideological allegiance makes AI a potential propaganda tool, and hence the need for bias cleaning and neutrality screening. Ahead of the elections in the United States last year, a bipartisan group of experts from the field of journalism, psephology, election officials, and techies launched what came to be known as the AI Democracy Project. They tested LLMs for questions that voters might ask of themselves before deciding whom to vote for. The AI bots failed ideological bias test 50% of the time, and 40% responses were deemed harmful for democracy. Closer home, the just concluded Delhi election was perhaps the first that saw some rudimentary use of AI videos as party propaganda. Aam Aadmi Party used a video in which Arvind Kejriwal is seen getting blessed by Constitution father Baba Saheb Ambedkar. This was in the backdrop of the comment made by Union Home Minister Amit Shah while participating in the Constitution Day debate in Parliament. BJP hit back with a video of its own, and we know the results already. But the whole point is that there's a potential, both positive and negative, against which we need to be forewarned and forearmed. Just to give you an idea, ChatGPT's latest version, which has acquired a measure of autonomous thinking, was tasked with cracking a CAPTCHA puzzle. You know, the ones you are asked to solve before logging into your bank accounts, for example. The AI bot couldn't do it directly, but had the smarts to approach an online service that provides human assistance on puzzle solving for help. It does not end here. The human got suspicious as to why would someone need help for CAPTCHA and sought to know if this was a robot. The AI bot immediately cooked up a false reply, saying that no, it was not a robot, a human with impaired vision seeking help. Imagine, it is already in the danger zone. The last thing you want is for the Chinese to inoculate American or Indian digital space via computers and phones to influence and control our activities as per their philosophy. A recent report by think tank RAND Corporation found that the impact of AI is going to be so dramatic that nations could see their power rise or fall depending on how they harness and manage the development of the technology. It is a race against time. We need legal frameworks that integrate all the rules and laws to make sure that 1, humans control AI, and 2, that it is shielded from Xi Jinping bias. Then, of course, would come the question of injecting ethics. The AI bot that lied about being a robot to solve the CAPTCHA needs to be told that lying is bad. That's an interesting space to watch, and I shall keep coming back to it. Thanks for watching.